tough on crime movement, at least in the United States, started in the late 1960s when crime rates started to increase. And at that time, Richard Nixon was running for the president of the United States. And he started to use the term war on crime. Then Ronald Reagan became the president and became a war on drugs because the crack cocaine was really fueling a lot of homicides in the United States. Then when Trump took office, once again, we have a more tough on crime movement. The research evidence, Carlos, with respect to 3 strikes and you're out, long-term mandatory minimums, is crystal clear. Those policies do not deter crime any better than less restrictive policies. And in fact, they end up costing taxpayers much more money because people are locked up in prisons for longer periods of time. Period. It's period. However, political leaders, of course, they run platforms on sound bites, and they are constantly targeting people's fears. And the average citizen doesn't spend hours of his or her life reading the academic literature, and politicians don't really often care about the academic literature. And that's unfortunate. What we are needing to do more, and it's criminologists, psychologists, sociologists, is we need to do a better job of getting our research out, not just to policymakers, but to the public. But we have to do so, Carlos, in a way that they can understand. And I have said this so many times. Different people need different data in different ways for different reasons. So when I have gone to testify to policymakers or mayors or legislatures or senators, I talk for 3 minutes because that's all you're allowed to talk. Sometimes it's a minute and a half, sometimes it's 3 minutes. And I have 3 things I want to get across. Here's what the research shows. Here's why that matters. Here's what you should do. And I know that my interpretation of the science will not always be the same as what a politician wants to hear. But I always say to them, Carlos, if I'm wrong, then it should be very easy for you to demonstrate that I'm wrong. And then they stop talking. But look, this is a long game. You're I'm sure a football fan. There's 2 45-minute halves, and then there's however long the referee decides there's, penalty time, which could be a minute or it could be 30 minutes. The game isn't won in the first 10 minutes. The game is not won until the last whistle blows. And so for me, I may not be able to affect policy right now or to change this person's view of the science right now, but I got to keep going. I got to keep playing. I got to keep going. And so what we need is more of that, and we need a receptive audience. I mean, there are some governments around the world, Carlos, that are very receptive to science, but you also need political parties in office that are going to be more receptive to science. I think, we saw that firsthand in the beginning of the pandemic, when some countries around the world, led by some leaders around the world, thought that this was just the flu. And now hundreds of thousands of people are dead because of the ill response that we had at the outset of the pandemic. And even now we have vaccines that we know work, and people still refuse to take vaccines. And it's saddening because we can't produce these vaccines for the rest of the world quick enough for people to take them. And so that is a good example. And I hate to be negative about that, but there's a good example where we knew what the science said, but we still had political leaders who didn't care. And this isn't about crime policy. This is about a virus that's killing people. So even in public health, we have leaders who do not want to listen or do not care about the science. It's very sad because even though I'm a criminologist, I'm also a person who cares about the world. And we just got to keep going. We just got to keep doing the best we can.